Everyone. So today we're going to be talking about the case of Leslie Palacio. I do feel like this is a fairly popular case, at least here on YouTube. I believe I've seen I've seen quite a few people do it, but I believe in particular Kendall Ray and Jackie Flores, the most recent one, I believe. And this case has always bothered me. There's just something about it. Maybe it's the way the family acted um, after everything happened. It's maybe like the gritty details. It's always been on my mind. It's always bothered me. It's just one of those cases that sticks with you. And I wanted to talk about Leslie today. So that's what we're going to do. All the links I used for research will be down below, and let's go ahead and get into this. So Leslie was 22 years old from Nevada. She grew up with four sisters and had a fun-filled life. She is described as strong, independent, and hardworking, and she's also remembered as being friendly and cheerful. So she was a lab tech and was really good at her job. Her coworkers would say that she was always calm and poised, and that she was always managed, no matter how nervous the patient was, she always managed to calm them down. She was just one of the best that they had. But being a lab tech wasn't enough for her. She wanted to become a criminal investigator and take care of her neighborhood. But she also wanted to start a fashion boutique and expand her interests. So she just wanted to do a whole lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that is just amazing. So on August 28th, 2020 is when this all takes place. And all she wanted to do was have a night of some lighthearted fun. She had finally finished her lab tech program and she wanted to celebrate that. Also, Las Vegas had just opened up after the first COVID outbreak, and she wanted to go to some casinos. So she just wanted to have a good night out. So she messaged a couple of friends, but they were either all busy or uninterested. And around that same time, she would receive an Instagram message from a 25-year-old named Eric Rangel, or Rangel, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. And she knew Eric. He was not a stranger. So the Rangels and the Palacios attended the same church, and they had known each other for years. But Eric and Leslie weren't friends. They were cordial and friendly, but that's basically like the extent of their relationship. And it's also believed that Eric was interested in her romantically, but she would reject his advances. And despite him nagging her, I guess wanting to be with her, she would continue to reject him. But when he asked her if she wanted to go out that night, she agreed. And before leaving, she would actually tell her sister, Corelli, her plans for the night. She told her where she was going, with who, and what the plans were, which I believe are very smart. You should always tell someone where you're going and with who, I believe. Because so many unknowns in this world, you can't trust anybody. I think it was really smart of her. She would promise to send updates so Corelli could reach her if it was needed, and then Leslie and Eric spent the night visiting casinos and bars, and she continued to keep Corelli informed that night. At 4:40 a.m., Corelli received a cryptic message from Leslie, and Leslie said this. She said, quote, "Dude, I got to talk to you about blank." But the name was never released, so it was just redacted. It was just, "Dude, I got to tell you about blank." Corelli says she remembers seeing a text bubble popped up, and she was like, okay, so Leslie's typing. But then it disappeared, and she never heard from Leslie again, and that is the last text that she received. The next morning, Corelli went to Leslie's room to talk to her, but Leslie wasn't there, and she said initially she wasn't concerned, um, but after she had gotten no word from Leslie all morning, that's when she started to get nervous. So her and some of the family decided to go to Eric's home because they thought maybe she had just gotten a little too drunk and crashed at his place. So they went to Eric's family's home and they saw some really shocking stuff. So Eric's mom and sister were carrying furniture out like they were moving out. And they gave off a really weird vibe to the Palacios, um, swearing like we just don't know anything. And they just thought it was really weird. And I will have photos of that on the screen. So Leslie's sister started calling her around about her whereabouts. They called friends and local hospitals, and they even tried to call Eric, but they got nowhere. The next day, which was August 30th, 2020, they filed a missing persons report. So Las Vegas Police Department started its investigation, and they requested her cell phone records so they could track her movements. The next day, Eric's mom filed a missing persons report on Eric, but also on Eric's father, Jose. So the mom claimed that he was out drinking on August 28th and came home early in the morning, acting super strange, and then he left the house soon after, and that he never returned. And when she was, filing the stuff and saying the stuff, the police knew something was up. So, with Leslie's phone records, they finally got them. They tracked her from Longhorn Casino to Putter's Bar and Grill at 2:15 a.m., and then to Bourbon Street Bar at 5:50 a.m. And that's when they started to look for surveillance cameras, and luckily, the house opposite of Eric's home had a CCTV camera pointing at the street, and that's when a lot of stuff would come out. And I will have some surveillance photos of her and Eric going throughout the bar together and all that good stuff. And I will also include the CCTV footage of what they got from the neighbors. So Eric did in fact go home with Leslie, and they got there about 6:05 a.m. on August 29th. She seemed fairly intoxicated, but he seemed fine. At 7:25 a.m., Eric and Jose carried out Leslie's body in a bedsheet. They put her in the back of their truck, and Eric drove away. Jose then cleaned the driveway off with a hose. That is so disturbing. Within an hour, something happened to her, and the family's just in on it, which I think is so disturbing and so gross. So that's when everybody started to realize that Eric and Jose weren't missing at all. They were on the run, and Leslie had been murdered by them, or at least by one of them. So police got a search warrant for the Rangel home, and that's when they found cleaning supplies, latex gloves, and it looked like they were cleaning every part of the house. Like, I will also have photos of the house when they got there, and it's like they were just cleaning from top to bottom, everything they possibly could. Like, it wasn't like a normal person cleaning their house. So the primary evidence was in Eric's bedroom. There were blood splatters on the floor and mattress, and they began to search for Eric and Jose while also looking for her body. 10 a.m. on August 29th, a license plate reader identified Eric's vehicle 6 miles from his house, and that was about 3 to 4 hours after the murder, which they believed meant he must have hidden her body a couple hours away. So the police believed Eric could have taken her body to the Nevada-Arizona border or towards Charleston Peak. At a gas station 40 miles from Las Vegas, a surveillance camera captured Eric's car rolling off the highway to the Valley of Fire National Park. So the camera also got his car coming back 20 minutes later. And that is when police started to search the Valley of Fire National Park, and they did find her body. Her body was found in September 2020. Her body had been dumped behind a bush. He didn't even put any effort into hiding the body. She was partially clothed, and her muddy jeans indicated that she had been dragged to the location. So, the Valley of Fire is extremely hot and arid, so the decomp rate was extremely fast. Because of that, her autopsy couldn't conclusively point out her cause of death. So, they have Leslie, now they need Eric. So they looked into tips from the public. They actually located Eric's truck 250 miles away in California's Moreno Valley. Eric had a cousin there who gave them the news that Eric and Jose had crossed into Mexico, and that made their job a lot more a lot more harder. So the FBI would get involved, and the search continued for months. And finally, on January 19th, 2021, Jose turned himself in near the border on the Mexico side. And no one knows why he did it, but he was brought back to Nevada and charged with accessory to murder and destruction of evidence. So, initially, Jose said that Eric was depressed for some reason and that he took Eric to Mexico for a break. But then they confronted Jose with a footage of them carrying out Leslie's body, and that's when he started to give them more accurate information, but also still minimizing his own involvement in it. So he said that he saw Eric struggling, trying to carry out her body, and he decided to help without asking any questions. He told him that he didn't see any signs of trauma or bruises on her body and assumed she died of an overdose. He said he didn't know where Eric was, and they had split up when the Mexican police had started to look for them. So in June 2021, Jose pled guilty to all charges, and he was only sentenced to 2 years in prison. But get this. However, he was out of prison after only serving 8 months and 15 days. This man was charged with accessory to murder and destroying evidence, and he got out within 8 months and 15 days. So, there were no early release, I don't know what you call it, stipulations, I think, in the court documents, only then the 205-day credit. A spokesperson for the Las Vegas Metro Police said that yes, Jose had received more credit for programs completed during his sentence, and the credits are mandated in the state law, and that's basically why he got to get out early, which I think is fucked. So Jose served his time, however, Eric still hasn't been found. So justice has definitely not been served in this case. Eric's still gone. They don't know where he is, probably in Mexico somewhere, living his life. Hopefully he's living his life in fear. However, he's still living his life as a free man. It's the thing is, she just wanted to have a good night out. She just wanted to celebrate completing this milestone. She finally decides, like, okay, I'll hang out with this person. And for whatever reason, this person did this to her. I will say I definitely do believe that the theory that he wanted to be romantic with her and she didn't, and I think that probably upset him. And I think maybe he snapped when they were at his house and he killed her somehow. And then I think, like the coward and piece of shit that Eric is, he dumped her body behind a bush and then went on the run. I and I And I think the entire family is disgusting. The mom and the sister were moving out furniture like they were moving out. They knew what happened 100%. That's why that house was being cleaned from top to bottom. Like, I understand people are just like, they're like, this is my family member. I want to support them. But this was just like so disgusting. And the fact that it's so obvious that they were definitely helping, it's disgusting. And then Jose helping him carry out the body and then hosing off the sidewalk. Like, oh, gotta get rid of this. Like, it's just the, I don't know, it's just so bothersome. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's disgusting behavior. Like, to think that an entire family was just helping their son cover up this murder, it's depraved, honestly. And, the family, they're disgusted that Jose was only sentenced to 2 years and then didn't even serve the full 2 years, which I would be too. He was an accessory to murder. He helped to destroy evidence, and he got out because he completed some programs. I understand that it's mandated in law. However, I don't think it should be. I think if you are in prison for anything that has to do with murder, whether you killed the person or you were an accessory or you destroyed evidence or you moved a body, I don't think you should be allowed to get out early. I think I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you change your behavior. I don't care if you find God. I don't care if you completed programs and are trying to better your life. You helped a murder or you committed a murder. You should have to serve time for that. Your full time, regardless if it's only 2 years, 20 years, your entire life, you should have to serve the full sentence. Because this person isn't going to get their life back, and you get to serve a little bit of time and get out because I'm a changed person. I completed this program. No. You should have to serve your time. That is why your time was given to you. And I just think that's like so fucked up. I feel so hard for this family. And so, like I said, yeah, justice wasn't ever really served because one, Jose, and then Eric not being caught. And we don't know if he'll ever be caught. I don't think. I hope one day he'll do what his father did and just come forward. But I don't know how realistic that is, honestly, because it's been a couple years now. I think he's a coward. And I don't know if he's willing to come forward and face what he's done, although he owes it to the Palacios to do that. Um, but that is the story of Leslie Palacio. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think they're going to catch Eric ever? Or do you think he's just going to get away with it? I really hope he doesn't. But let me know your thoughts on this case down below. Please be respectful. You never know if the family is going to come across this, so please, please, please be kind. And thank you so much for listening to her story, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.